Imagine sitting across from a teenager, right? And they are just making these terrible, completely self-destructive choices online.
Oh, yeah, like being in a toxic group chat or sharing things they really shouldn't be.
Exactly. And your instinct as a responsible adult is to just look them in the eye and give them the cold, hard, terrifying truth about what they're doing. You want to spell out all the consequences.
Which is, a totally natural reaction.
Right. But the moment you do that, you can practically see their eyes just like glaze over. Their brain completely shuts off.
Oh, completely. It's like you've just triggered their threat response, and
Yeah.
suddenly you were officially talking to a brick wall.
It really is. Anyway, welcome to this deep dive. If you're joining us today, you're likely the sort of person who, wants to get to the core of complex issues quickly without drowning in all that academic jargon.
Yeah, you want to actually understand the mechanics of why people do what they do.
Exactly. And today we're looking at a really fascinating source document called What a DSL Can Learn From a Cartoonist. And we're exploring this wild intersection between two worlds that honestly, on the surface, have absolutely nothing in common.
No, they really don't.
So on one hand, we have the DSL, or Designated Safeguarding Lead. And for those who might not know, a DSL is the professional in a school who's responsible for child protection, pastoral care, all that highly sensitive stuff. And on the other hand, we have, well, cartoonists.
Which, it sounds completely counterintuitive. It borders on absurd, honestly.
It really does.
Yeah.
But our mission today is to explore how the skills of a cartoonist can actually revolutionize the way we communicate difficult, sensitive truths so that people actually listen.
Right, because people just naturally resist lectures and direct criticism. Purely formal communication usually just creates this wall of defensiveness and emotional distance.
Okay, let's unpack this, because trying to force a difficult truth on someone is like trying to shove a magnet against its matching pole. I mean, the harder you push, the stronger they repel.
That is a perfect way to describe it. And the reason why this happens is really rooted in our psychology.
Wait, like physically in the brain?
Yeah, pretty much. Our sources highlight that people instinctively resist direct threats to their self-image. When we feel our identity or our ego is under attack, our amygdala just sort of takes over.
So we prepare for combat, basically. Or we just mentally run away.
Exactly. We don't even process the factual warning. And the profound professional truth here is that people rarely change because they feel humiliated into it.
Wow, yeah. Humiliation just breeds resentment.
Right. They change when insight becomes emotionally possible. That is the key phrase from our material today. Insight has to become emotionally possible first.
That makes so much sense. But why do we need to look to cartoonists to fix this?
Well, because direct confrontation usually fails, right?
Well,
Cartoonists, though, they bypass all those blast doors by using distillation, symbolism, and just really strong emotional recognition.
so it's kind of like a psychological Trojan horse.
That's exactly it. A single visual metaphor or a quick cartoon can communicate what, like 5 pages of long explanations? Totally fail to achieve.
Because it sneaks past the ego's defenses. It doesn't look like a direct threat.
Right. And for DSL, translating that means using storytelling or metaphor, or even gentle humor, like framing boarding school discussions through relatable, hypothetical characters.
So it helps students or staff reflect without instantly throwing up their shields.
Exactly. They're engaging in third-person processing. They're looking at a character's problem, not their own, which creates this safe cognitive distance.
Okay, but I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
Wait, safeguarding is incredibly complex and serious. We're talking about legal liabilities and severe risks. If we simplify it like a cartoon, aren't we just dumbing down vital procedures?
I hear that a lot, and it's a completely natural fear. But what's fascinating here is that clarity actually creates understanding way faster than complexity does.
Really? Even with all the legal stuff?
Oh, absolutely. The source insists that the best safeguarding communication is memorable because it feels emotionally recognizable, not because it's administratively perfect.
Huh. So the 50-page safety manual approach might cover the school legally, but it doesn't actually help the kids.
Right. Procedurally overloaded, jargon-heavy communication actually deters understanding.
Mm.
If a teenager sees a wall of text, They just tune it out on page 1.
Oh, total. I mean, I tune out walls of text on page 1.
We all do.
Yeah.
So when we say simplify, we don't mean removing the seriousness. We mean stripping away the bureaucratic noise so the concept actually lands.
Okay, I see. And a major tool cartoonists use for that is exaggeration, right? They exaggerate behavior or systems to reveal these underlying truths.
Exactly. Exaggeration is phenomenal because it breaks through normalization.
Normalization, like when
Yeah.
someone gets used to a bad situation.
Yeah, exactly. When people are inside a toxic dynamic like a bad relationship or a harmful online group, they normalize it. They lose their perspective entirely.
So how does a DSL use exaggeration to fix that without sounding, condescending?
Well, the text gives some great specific examples. Say a student is accepting poor treatment in a gaming chat and says, "Oh, that's just how guys talk."
Mm.
You don't just tell them they're wrong.
Right, because then the blast doors close.
Exactly. Instead, you use a hypothetical scenario.
Mhm.
You ask, what if this exact same conversation happened face-to-face, like in the middle of the cafeteria?
Oh, wow. You shift the environment completely.
Yes. Or you reverse the roles. You ask, would this behavior feel acceptable if you saw your younger sister being spoken to this way?
That's incredibly powerful. You just take the hidden behavior and blow it up slightly, and suddenly they arrive at the conclusion themselves.
And because they own the realization, it's infinitely more likely to result in actual behavioral change.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. If we're talking about exaggeration in cartoons, we inevitably edge into the territory of humor,
Which is a minefield.
a massive minefield. How do you use humor when dealing with trauma, mental health, and safeguarding? Because a misplaced joke could just destroy a student's trust forever.
You're absolutely right to call it a minefield. The goal isn't to be the cool, funny teacher or get a cheap laugh. It's about creating emotional safety.
Emotional safety through humor. How does that work?
Well, appropriate humor allows people to literally and emotionally drop their shoulders. It creates openness so they can explore uncomfortable truths safely without immediate shame shutting them down.
Like a tension release valve in a really awkward room?
Exactly. But there is an absolute boundary here, and this is a core professional truth from the text. Humor should reduce fear. It should never reduce dignity.
Reduce fear, not reduce dignity. Wow, that's a really great filter for any kind of interaction.
It really is. The source is very explicit about what DSLs must absolutely avoid. You can never humiliate students or make trauma humorous.
Right. Trauma is never punchline material.
Never. And another big one to avoid is public humiliation disguised as humor or relying on so-called banter.
Oh, banter. The classic, I was just joking, defense. When someone actually says something really cutting and mean.
Exactly. Banter is very often used to reinforce harm. Sarcasm and ridicule have zero place in this framework. The warmth of the humor has to be perfectly balanced with absolute seriousness about the topic.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about individual communication, like a teacher and a student. Let's zoom out. How does this shape the entire culture of an institution?
That's the real challenge, taking these interpersonal skills and scaling them up.
Because eventually the metaphor of the cartoonist has to break down, right?
Oh, it definitely breaks down. And the source outlines those critical differences. Cartoonists use satire for public commentary, right? They want to provoke.
Right, they turn politicians into literal punchlines.
But a DSL provides human-centered, ethical educational responsibility to protect students. Students are never symbols or punchlines. Safeguarding must never trivialize harm.
So the end goals are completely different, even if the tools are similar.
Exactly. But the core insight remains. The most powerful messages are the most human. If your communication feels institutionally scripted, the whole student body will tune it out.
So how does a human-centric safeguarding culture actually look in practice?
Well, the source gives some brilliant examples, like student-created safeguarding campaigns.
Oh, I love that. So instead of the administration pasting a sterile list of rules on the wall, the kids do it.
Right. And they use realistic scenarios, especially in environments like boarding education. They foster honest conversations about pressure, identity, and belonging.
Because they're using their own lived experience and their own language. They're not using administrative jargon.
Exactly. And this brings in the broader leadership layer. Building this culture means moving away from just purely disciplinary well-being literacy.
Meaning it's not just about punishing kids who break the rules.
Right. It's about shifting to a culture where students actually feel safe discussing difficult topics before they become disciplinary issues.
So what does this all mean? If we wrap up this paradigm shift, it seems like communicating difficult truths isn't about perfectly reciting procedural rules at all.
No, not in the slightest.
It's really about lowering people's defenses long enough for them to genuinely reflect, understand, and actually grow.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it doesn't matter if you are a pastoral leader, a corporate manager, or just someone trying to communicate a hard truth to a friend.
Yeah, the mechanics of human defensiveness are the same everywhere.
Exactly. Emotional accessibility matters just as much as factual accuracy. You can have the most factually accurate warning in the world, but if your delivery triggers their self-defense mechanisms, your message is gone.
It's just lost in the void. So look at the difficult messages you try to communicate in your own life or workplace.
Yeah, take a hard look at them.
Are they emotionally engaging enough for people to genuinely absorb them? Or are you delivering them in a way that makes people defensively tune out? Are you building a Trojan horse, or are you just launching a frontal assault?
That is the perfect question to leave off on.
It really makes you think about every argument you've ever had. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep seeking those aha moments, and we will see you next time.